I get a lot of questions still from officials about back judge, specifically in the crew of 7. So I just want to make a video real short, kind of go over the basics of the back judge position in a crew of 7. Especially now that we're about to roll into the playoffs, and you'll have a lot of crews and deeps running back judge who aren't really used to it. So just as a short video, some brief overview. We cover a little bit of this in the deeps camp video if you signed up for a camp. So I encourage you to go back and kind of review that. But this one's going to be specific to back judges. But if you're not a back judge, if you're any other deep or a wing, you can still watch this if you want, kind of get a feel for what it's going to be like. Because when we talk about keys, especially with back judge, sometimes those keys will switch over to a wing official or even another deep. So let's just start with the kickoff. Back judge is very easy. You're going to hand the ball to the kicker, check off with the umpire, and then usually what I'll do is I'll just kind of glance down at the referee, make sure he's ready, and then I'll run to the sideline. I may give him a nod, thumbs up, or whatever, just let him know I'm about to go to the sideline. Then once I go to hit the sideline, my hand goes up, and that lets the referee know we're ready to go. So remember, this year we have areas of coverage. For the back judge, you're going to be kind of halfway down the field, almost about the numbers, maybe halfway between the hash and the numbers. That's going to be our area of coverage. We got cage restraining line. We're looking for encroachment, pop-up kick, whatever we can look for that might happen on the cage restraining line. So usually what I'll do once the foot hits the ball, make my way in the field, and usually I'll kind of button hook around, kind of curve in right here, just to give me more width, more depth. I can see a little bit better rather than just coming straight in. Like I said, I just kind of curve around and kind of get in between, right in the middle of my zone of coverage. That way I can see everything downfield. Don't think you're going to see it on this wide angle. But yeah, so it kind of comes straight in. Kind of do a little curve, just gets you just a little bit better, gives you a better coverage. All right, so let's look at a couple of scrimmage plays. So first, let's talk about keys. I don't want to get too far in the keys about who has what and what, but just want to talk a little bit brief overview of it, and then if there's motion, how you handle that. So when we have a double-double like this, which is 2 receivers on each side, back judge, we're always going to take the inside receiver on the line judge side. So as everyone kind of needs to know, especially the wings, you need to know, especially the line judge, you need to know that you don't have him. You're going to peek inside the tackle. Really, you have this back here in case he goes out. So now we're going to shift. So remember, the keys and the formation, everything, it is a snapshot of the formation at the snap. So here our keys now shift. So we're going to switch, and now we're going to have different keys. Deep's going to take him, and we essentially have a trips to one side. When we talk about keys and where the back judge covers, we look at outside the tackles. So let's just, for the sake of argument, assume that he is outside the tackle. That's going to be your back judge's key. He's your widest guy. He's your second guy in, so he's the headline judge. So this third guy in is going to be our initial key as the back judge. Now, when they go downfield, this may change a little bit because now we want to look at threats. So for instance, this guy, he's not threatened at all right now. But this receiver is coming straight into our zone of coverage. So we're going to pick him up, see what's going on there. Really now, none of them are threatened. We still want to keep an eye on it. And then the headline judge will take this receiver swinging out right here. And then you see, this is going to be an intentional grounding. Now as a back judge, since you kind of have that deep in the middle of the field, you can help out on intentional groundings like this because you kind of have a different angle than maybe a deep or a wing can have. So in this situation, the back judge can kind of chime in and say, hey, we got no receiver in the area. And that'll let the referee know, drop his flag. So back judge a lot of times too, especially if you can help out and stuff like this, really help the referee or help the crew, because you're in the middle of the field, you're further back than the umpire, you really have a wide view of the field. So it really helps you in situations like this. I also want to talk too, I may have it in let's see where the back judge was positioned. It's a little too deep, our deeps and everything here. Looks like we're snapping from between the 25 and the 20. So our deep should be right here, 20 yards back, and your back judge is going to be 5 yards further. Your back judge should be here, your deep's here. Way too deep in this situation. But we want field judge to be in the middle of the field. As in the middle of the field as possible. Even when the formation's on a hash, back judge, you stay in the middle of the field. You can shade over a little bit, but we don't want you outside of the uprights. Alright? So stay within the uprights, middle of the field. And what that does is it gives you a better peripheral vision if you have receivers kind of coming into your zone. If you're too far to one side, it cuts off your peripheral vision on the other side, and you can miss the receiver coming into your area. So be in the middle of the field as much as possible. Trying to see how once it backs out here. Even though we're over here, back judge in the middle of the field. And again, it gives him a better peripheral vision on the sides here. So if a receiver comes in his area from over here, you can still see it as peripheral. Whereas if he were scooted all the way over to the other side, then it'll cut off that peripheral here, and you may pick this up too late. Stay in the middle of the field as much as you can. Alright, here's what I want to look about this one. So we're going to have a player in motion. And one thing you want to look at as a back judge when you're looking at keys, you really want to have a feel for where the tight end is. You want to look and see, do we have a tight end? Because a lot of times it's easy to pick up the wide receivers, but you got to remember the tight end is ours too. So if you have, say for instance, we have 2 receivers out here, and then a tight end, back judge has a tight end. So we don't want to just see 2 receivers and we know we got the second guy and miss the tight end. So always know where your tight end is. Alright, so here the tight end is going to shift. So whenever we have a motion or a shift, you hold that key until they then go outside the tackle on the other side. So, for instance, if this ball were snapped right now, that is still the back judge's key, because he was outside the tackle, goes in motion, and until he clears the other side, the outside tackle here, he is still the back judge's key. Now it turns out where he sets, he's going to be the back judge's key anyway. But that's something we want to. Well, it's hard to tell. If this is a tight end, it's hard to tell. But if this is a tight end, then he's the back judge's key. So if he's a tight end, he'd be the back judge's key anyway, because then that would be double doubles. So if you got 2 tight ends and then 2 receivers, you got the tight end on the line judge side. I can't tell who's who what. But the main point I want to pick up on this is when you have a motion like that, the key remains whoever it was until they go outside the tackle on the other side. Now we got to change our keys. And that's a good thing about being a back judge, is that it keeps you involved in the game, because you have to be thinking all these scenarios and everything. So I think this is the same play. Alright, here's one we'll talk about too. Same thing with motion. Alright, so when we have trips to the side like this, really you're gonna have, this would be side judge, headline judge, and really the back judge, you're kind of gonna key on both of these, and then just when they go downfield, basically they're gonna declare themselves. So whoever the threat is, whoever gets threatened, that's who you wind up picking up. So he's going to shift. Now he's going to shift inside the tackles. So now he is no longer the back judge's key anyway, because we have snapshot of the formation at the snap. So that's going to be your back judge's key. Third guy. She doesn't really do anything. So at that point, he's not a threat. So maybe you'll switch over here. Whoever comes in your zone. The zone for a back judge is everything inside the hashes. So he's basically your threat now. Alright, let's talk about scrimmage kick. Let's see if I can get... So this is going to be... This is what I really want to talk about. So remember, for the back judge, we changed it. It used to be 5x5. And we changed it to 10 yards deep. Now your field judge and your side judge are going to stay 5 yards behind the returner. Back judge are going to be 10 yards. And just add an angle where you can see if there's going to be a muff or something. Maybe about 2 or 3 yards wide. Just put yourself at an angle where you can see if there's a muff, catch, KCI, whatever you need to see. So when we have two backs, two receivers like we have here, back judge, you're going to split right in the middle. And then when the ball leaves the punter's foot, kind of get a feel for which one of these is going toward. And then we're going to get in position to key on that returner. So this time it's coming to this returner. So now we're going to turn our back and get in position to keep an eye on him. Now, here's the important part. When the back judge turns his back to the other receiver, one of these deeps has to keep an eye on the other receiver to look for a fair catch. Take care of that in your pregame. You can always designate the field judge to do it. You can always designate the side judge to do it. I think it's easier to designate a specific deep. Maybe the side judge say, if we have two returners, side judge, you're going to take look out for fair catch on the non-receiver. This is probably the easy way to do it. But someone's got to watch. If we turn our attention to this receiver, the back judge is, we got to have an eye on this in case he fair catches, then we know we can kill it. That's how we handle the split backs like that. And everything else is basic mechanic. If it's a fair catch, back judge will come up and take it. If they catch it and return it, then back judge, as you run by the spot, you'll just drop your beanbag on the spot of the recovery. And then the deeps actually take them up the field. And back judge, you kind of hang out in the back and you're watching everything in the middle and around to make sure all that stays cleaned up. Remember, it looks a lot better if you just drop the beanbag rather than tossing it. I just take a mental note of where the ball was caught. As I'm running by it, I'll drop my beanbag. And sometimes I'll use like reference points. So if it was recovered here, I'll even say like 52. Just tell myself 52-yard line. Even though there's no such thing as a 52-yard line, spur of the moment, quick thinking is easier just to say, 52. So just do stuff like that. Little short stuff like that helps you out a lot. Okay, last couple of things. We'll talk about goal line and line positioning. When we get between the 30 and the 25, back judge initial position is always going to be on the goal line. And I just hold it until I feel threatened. When I feel threatened, then I'll back up. It's a lot. Do not, don't wait too long to get to the end line. It's more important to have that end line covered, because your field judge and side judge will cover the goal line. So if you feel threatened, go ahead and break toward the end line. And then if we need to come up to the goal line, you can. Although it's usually not going to be necessary because your field judge and your side judge are there. But it's easier to come up quicker to the goal line than it is to get back to the end line. So don't wait too late to get to the end line. But between the 30 and 25, we're going to set up on the goal line. The other two deeps set up on the 5. Reason being, you never want to set up between the 5 and the goal line. You want to be on the 5 or the goal line. Once you break inside the 25, and now the back judge is going to be on the end line, the other two will be on the goal line. And once we're here, we stay here. Field judge and side judge is not like a crew of 6, where you hold the goal line until you feel the end line is threatened. Field judge, side judge, once you're on the goal line, you're going to stay there no matter what. If there is a pass deep on the end line, back judge has got it by himself. If it's in the corner here, field judge or side judge, you'll turn and watch this sideline, and back judge and box it out. So, in initial positioning, like I said, we stay in the middle of the field. College official once told me, kind of just reach back, make sure you can touch that goal post. If you can, then you're in the proper position. And then once there is a pass on the end line, don't feel like you're glued to the middle of the field. If there's a pass all the way over here, if you need to come outside the pylon to get in a better position, then do it. Don't get too close, because the closer you are, the less you can see. Because you want your vision to be as wide as you can, but don't feel like you're still confined to the uprights. If you gotta come out here a little bit to get, make sure you get a good look at a pass right here, go ahead and do it. Alright, I don't think this is a crew of 7, but this is a clip someone sent me, and I just want to go over this just to kind of emphasize how important it is to stay where we stay. So let's just go back to the wide angle here. If we have a pass in the end zone, if we have an interception in the end zone, the Ds, we want to stay in that end zone as long as we can, until we feel like we have to move. And the reason being, we need to make, now that we have 7, it's a lot easier to make sure we have the goal line covered when we need to. So if we have a pass intercepted in the end zone, we stay where we are, because he could fumble it, or fumble it pretty much. When it comes out and comes back in, we need to be on the end line to make sure, or the goal line to make sure he's out and he's back in. And I would say until he is up the field 15, 20 yards, then we will come off. Same thing with the back judge, even then. Stay in the end zone, on the goal line especially. Then when your deeps move off the goal line, you can come and kind of stay on the goal line until you feel like you have to go upfield. So the reason being, because crazy stuff like this can happen. So it's muffed up. He's moving, and you see he's already off the goal line. So in a situation like this, stay on that goal line until you feel like you have to move up. Don't be so quick to leave that goal line, because if he comes back, we're not in position to be on the goal line. We don't really know what's going on. So stay on that goal line as long as you can, in case crazy stuff like this happens. Alright? Alright, that's it. That's all I got. I think I covered everything. Just this is the cliff notes. If there's other stuff I didn't cover, comment on it in the comment section. We'll try to get to it if you have other questions. Or allow you email me. You can keep emailing me questions, and I'll answer them the best I can. So hopefully this covered everything. This makes you a little more comfortable going into the playoffs. So hope this helps, and as always, good luck everyone.